New for 96.
Perfect.
New for 96. With your hosts, Kevin McCauley and Chris Nguyen.
Are we starting?
We have started.
Oh,
What is
rolling?
What is this show? What are we even on?
We
It's
had
hard
a
to say.
list here. We had a list.
This used to be a
and,
cooking show, and then it went to gardening, and now we're on to cars. So
Yeah.
New for 96 seemed to fit a little bit better for this topic.
Did it? Yeah.
Maybe. Hard to say.
I was trying to prompt you into doing your introduction for the show.
Oh,
Apparently that didn't.
we wait a while to do that.
Yeah.
At least an hour.
Yeah, usually at minute 6, you're like, all right, welcome and goodbye.
Yeah. Should we?
Let's do it.
Okay.
Welcome to another
So-
episode of, oh my God, we're just on the ball here.
Yeah.
In
I was,
unison now.
Easing in. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Here we go.
And
What are they listening to?
another
Episode
of
new
for
90.
96. Oh, I thought we were doing in unison. Well, we've messed it up.
Exclamation point.
It's too late. We've spent the airtime.
Yep.
New
Okay.
for 96.
Perfect.
Brad.
All right. We'll use that.
I'm
Okay.
your bumper for the next.
Yes. So
Yeah.
that voice you're hearing is Bradley Brownell. You know him from Jalopnik and Flat Sixes and scores of now defunct podcasts.
Yes.
Are you on Ride Apart?
No, I did a couple week stint there.
Okay.
Just filling in for somebody who was out.
Okay.
On leave, but I do.
And you've got an EV column.
I do.
Yes.
So I have Jalopnik. I do nights there. So from let's see, Eastern time it'd be 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. I basically run the site when everyone else is out. I have flat6s.com is the Porsche site that I am editor of. And then I have a column for evpulse.com. It's a brand new site. Go check it out. It's a lot of fun.
Awesome.
Is it anything
chat-
like Prius chat?
No.
Okay, because it's a pretty lively board.
my buddy Chad Kirchner started this site, and he asked me if I wanted to contribute as a weekly columnist, and I said absolutely. And then he said carte blanche, and I said you're gonna regret this.
Whoa.
Yeah. Oh, and I forgot to include. Yeah, you also know Brett from having the hottest Twitter takes. Which now I saw you shut down your Instagram and your Facebook.
Correct.
And so that I feel like there's gonna be more funneled to Twitter as far as the takes.
Yeah.
I've never really had takes on Instagram. I just kind of post whatever.
It's
I'm
hard
doing,
to have takes on Instagram, I feel like.
Yeah. But I guess the hottest take I ever had on Instagram was that sugar scoops are great.
Oh
and
my God.
Kevin will argue that that's my worst take of
That
all
might
time,
be a-
so.
It's
It's
a
a
30-way
pretty bad
tie
take.
with a lot of your other takes.
Yeah.
Like the New Edge Mustang being
Oh, I forgot about
better
we heard that take live in person.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
It's fine.
And Brad, you're in Reno right now. Or no, is your house okay, so your new house is in Reno
Yes.
as well. Okay.
Yes. Yep. We moved from far out in the suburbs. We were on the edge of the desert
Yeah.
before. We moved closer to downtown. I can walk out my front door and see casinos right over there.
oh,
So
that's the American dream.
Yeah. That's what I
everything I've
imagine.
ever wanted.
Just
Yeah.
is that all Nevada is? Just edge to edge casinos?
No, I mean
No,
it's tons of
two
open
pockets.
land.
Yeah.
It's tons of government owned land and everything and nothing
80
else.
I think 80% of the state is Bureau of Land Management land.
Wow.
Public.
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want on it land.
That
Yeah, that is a foreign concept to Texas where it's
Yeah.
get off my land. This gate
Seriously.
is we
Yeah.
we don't call 911,
Yeah.
blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So no, it's cool. I mean, I remember driving through Utah and there's signs. It's public land, your public lands.
Yeah.
And it's just that's literally is foreign to me in Texas because it's
Yeah.
so little of the land is public.
yeah.
I would argue that Nevada is the freest state in the nation.
My
yeah.
God.
Well, you don't have near beer, so you're already ahead of Utah.
We have gambling, prostitution, free land for everybody. We're very high in renewables because we have a lot of solar, and Hoover Dam. So
Oh yeah.
Pretty cool.
I
Pretty
forgot
cool.
about the Hoover Dam.
pretty cool
So,
state.
so tell us about your EV column, because you have got
This is a new one because I only learned this from the show notes because I didn't know that you had this EV column.
It's brand new. I've only had it for 2 weeks.
Okay.
So yeah, a friend of mine, Chad Kirchner, asked me if I wanted to contribute to the site, evpulse.com. And it's a brand new site. It just started. Basically, my column was one of the first things on the site when we launched it. And it goes live every Wednesday morning. And I try to have measured takes. And I think I've done okay with that. They might get wilder as we go on, but for now, the first one was electric hot rodding is the future,
Mhm.
and I backed that up with there's Ford and GM are going drag racing with electric. EV West just set a new SCTA world record, land speed record for electrics.
Wow.
It's in a class, so it wasn't
Mhm.
the outright record, but
Yeah,
they
yeah.
took a class record, which was pretty cool. There are electric dragsters that are in the sixes now, over 200 miles an hour
Oh wow.
Wow.
in the quarter. So yeah, it's great. And I mean, I was just at Lucid, their headquarters, and they were showing me a prototype that allegedly runs 9.3,
Wow.
a 6,000-pound sedan that
That's
runs
insane.
9.3 in the quarter.
That is insane.
And they're gonna sell it to like people in the public, which is bonkers.
Yeah.
That seems to be at least the consumer realm of EV is, you know, they're the beta testers. Like, it does all this crazy shit. We're not going to limit it. You guys
Yeah.
kind of have fun.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah. Well, your
get
second
injured.
column, I read the second column. I thought it was I thought it was the first. I didn't know it was the second. But you talked about how EV, like it can't just be these high-end $200,000 luxury super fast things. Like the Bolt is great, but we need more stuff like that. And you called attention to other cars, like in Europe and Renaults and stuff that are happening, which I was not really aware of. So it's cool that there's something.
So
I
yeah,
guess,
the Renault Twizy has been around for a few years now. I think it was 2013 when they launched that, so it's been around a bit. And I drove one a few years ago, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't have doors or windows or anything like that, but it's like a low speed around the city, and it's cheap. It's like $14,000 brand new, or you can lease it for like $80 a month.
No doors or windows. Is it a tank?
No, it just has openings on the side.
Okay.
You can spec it with butterfly doors or like falcon doors or whatever, like a Lamborghini style.
This is from this is a ground up EV.
Yes.
Okay.
Do you remember that?
And it's a two-seater. It seats one in front of the other.
Oh.
So your passenger sits behind you, and it's very narrow.
Yes.
So you can fit into spaces. You can park tight places and all that. That one's really cool. The new one is the Citroen Ami.
Yeah,
which is shorter and wider. So it's you sit next to each other. You sit in tandem, and that one is 7,000 euros.
Oh wow!
To buy brand new.
Wow.
I mean, admittedly, the interior is very Spartan. It's all plastic. There's no screens. There's no buttons. It's just, you get in. There's some shifter buttons, and then you put your phone on the dash to act as the reverse camera and the sat nav and the audio and all that, which makes a ton of sense.
Which
to me.
really does, yeah. It certainly cuts down on waste.
The great thing about that car is that you can lease it in France for 20 euros a month.
Oh wow!
Wow.
So like this is like bargain basement mobility for the working class.
Yeah.
And in France, because they have graduated licenses, 14-year-olds can drive it.
Wow.
Oh wow. So this
Yeah.
is kind of like the Reliant Robin, where it classifies as a different type of vehicle,
Yeah, kind of. Yes, yes.
except
I
it's not
forget
for
what
minors.
right. I forget what they call it in Europe, but it's not a car. It's
Yeah.
like a
So
runabout or something like that.
do you
Slingshot.
think this is also? I'm kind of intrigued by the Twizy's spooning seating position, as it's known
Yes.
in the industry and in the brochure. But so, and Europe has kind of always had these entry level EVs. At least I'm just thinking of like the G Wiz
Oh,
and
right.
Sure.
whatnot. They seem a little bit more accepting of like a very basic means of transport versus the United States, where we
Well,
have to be won over.
For sure. I mean, it is a limited use case, especially here in the States, because neither of them are really highway vehicles.
Yeah.
It would be around town, lower speed, like 45-mile-an-hour streets and under. So really, it's good for big cities, and that's about it. So
Yeah.
it'd be San Francisco, New York, Chicago. Chicago would kind of suck because there's not really a lot of insulation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, it
And
would work for me where I live
Yeah.
because everything in Reno is within like 30 miles. So if you get on the interstate, you're going 100 miles away.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You're not going across town. So if you're going across town, you can definitely do it off the highway pretty easily. So
I mean, I've considered something like that just because in non-COVID times, like my commute is 1.5 miles, and like a
Yeah.
used Nissan Leaf is, you
Right.
know, $5,000-6,000. It's kind of an interesting proposition, but
Yeah.
what do you think in the United States, what would be like the most palatable, the minimum palatable driving experience that we would accept over here? Because I think the iMiev might be a little too basic, and the
yeah,
Leaf,
I think Leaf is pretty good.
yeah,
It's a car. It's a real car. It does car things.
yeah,
You can go on the highway with it. You can go, you can get 100. Well, even the Leaf Plus, the new one's like 220 miles
yeah.
of range. So you could easily go across the country in that. I mean, it would take a little longer than a gas car, but you could easily do it. There's charging infrastructure for that now.
Oh, go ahead.
What
I
do
think-
what do you think will be your first EV? Because I've seen your enthusiasm moving in this direction, and you're
Yeah.
following it. And, you're not going to buy a car every year, so it might be a ways off. But what do you think it would be?
I'm actually going to look at the Leaf on Wednesday.
Oh, no way!
To buy a used one?
You heard it here first.
A used
Yeah.
one, yeah. There's one on local Craigslist that had the battery. It's a 2011 with 96,000 miles.
So that's an
which
early one, right?
Yeah, that's the first year. So most of them by now, their batteries would be trash, like unusable. They don't hold a charge. They only go 30, 40 miles, something like that. This one had its battery replaced 4 years ago. And allegedly it still has a full 12 bar battery charge. So it can go the full 78 miles range.
And
so
those early
I'm going
ones
to test that.
are they came with more standard, right? Like
Yeah, it's got like a little solar panel on the roof to
Yeah.
keep the 12-volt battery charged. It's got premium audio. It's got better seating. It's got all kinds.
it's
of
got the
cool-
little Jetsons sound maker.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
rented one in Portland. I think in like the first year it came out was 2011, and it was during the winter, and I had like 4 other people with me, and I started playing like the range game, or rather, like it was Portland, so it was wet, rainy, cold. I was really afraid to turn on the heat because it would drain the battery, and at one point we almost ran out, and then we ended up finding like this street by I think Portland University, whichever one that is in the middle of the city, and they had an entire street dedicated to experimental EV chargers. So it was like 8 or 10 of them, and so
Yeah.
I tried one at like
Believe
the force feed.
Believe it or not, Austin is a really big city for EVs right now.
I'd believe that.
Because there's a ton of charging infrastructure going in there,
Yeah.
and all of the solar and wind farms that are going in Texas. Like
Yeah.
Texas is going all in on alternative energy. Believe it or not.
Well, I'm
yeah,
sure
now-
Houston will be the last to make that transition.
Yeah, we're kind of the hub of unalternative energies here. But there was one charger that was like a force feeding charger, very experimental in 2011. So it was basically like the foie gras of EV chargers, where I think there was like a warning that said this will probably shorten the life of your battery.
Kill your
But it was a
battery.
rental car, so and that car is probably no longer functional.
Yeah, if it was a 2011 Leaf, it's probably no
Yeah.
longer functional,
Wow.
unless it had a battery upgrade. Like that early battery chemistry, they were air cooled, and you could overheat them pretty easily. And batteries don't like to be overheated, so
Yeah.
like over the course of, say 60,000 miles or whatever on one of those early Leafs, you would lose 40% of the battery life. So even at a full charge, you would only get, 50 miles or 40 miles out of a full charge.
Oh
So
wow.
a lot of those have been replaced. Some of them were treated nicely
Yeah.
by their owners, which Americans don't do, but like Europeans have had good luck with them lasting a long time and still
Yeah.
have 60 to 70 miles of range out of them. But yeah, if you had an old one in America, it's probably long gone by now.
Yeah.
So if you replace the battery, you can have like a
Brand
more
new car.
sophisticated cooling.
Yeah. Yep.
On just with the battery.
So they updated battery chemistry in 2015 to what they call a lizard battery. And the lizard battery lasts much longer. It's much more
Oh.
sophisticated.
Okay,
And I think
very
it's
cool.
got different a different controller on
Mhm.
how the charge is applied. So it's not just like rammed into the battery. It's kind of filtered across each of the batteries equally.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. That was a problem on my Prius. One of the many was they said that the ABS or like something with the ABS was causing the regen to overload like one set of cells, like one row. This was on top of many other things. It was a bad car. That was
Yeah.
my own fault. That was a bad car. Don't you have a Leaf motor already in your garage?
It's not in my garage anymore. It's actually at a friend's place, a friend's shop, because he's putting a new inverter in it, or a new controller for the inverter to give me an additional boost in power.
Ooh.
Okay.
So we're aiming for around 215 horsepower.
Oh wow.
And stock in a Leaf was like 140 something.
Yeah.
148.
I
I think.
remember-
What is the battery going to be?
I don't know yet.
Okay.
Right now I'm worried about the construction. So I need to tear the front of the Boxster apart. For people who are listening that don't know.
Yeah, we should explain what this is.
I have a 97 Boxster 2.5 5-speed that is going to be like a track car, that I'm putting a Leaf motor in the front with Carrera 4 front uprights. So it'll have, so it'll have axles that'll join with the Leaf motor so that it can power the front wheels on full electric, and then the rear wheels will still be internal combustion. So
That is an
Very
ambitious
cool.
project.
so yeah, we're actually aiming for like 4 more horsepower to the front wheels and about 80 pound-feet of torque more to the front wheels than the gasoline engine provides to the rear
Oh wow.
wheels.
So
Wow.
are you going to be able to calculate like a combined?
Yes.
So is there
Yeah,
going to be like power loss in? Like, how does that work out as far as two
So-
different motors?
effectively they won't talk to each other. They
Yeah.
won't know that each other exists. So when the gas engine, when you're hard on the throttle and the electric engine or electric motor is pulling harder, the gasoline motor will just be like, oh, we're going downhill, or
Yeah.
there's a tailwind. Like it won't know and it won't care.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like accelerating downhill, basically. Like the acceleration from the gas motor will still do something, but it won't be as forceful, I guess. But it will compound. There will be, like, when you put it on a 4-wheel dyno, you'll get both
A figure.
horsepowers.
Okay.
Yeah, at whatever they're at.
Okay.
And it won't, you can't just say it's this plus this, because there's
Right.
RPM differences.
Mhm.
Because like EV motors start out heavy and then they trickle off as it goes up in RPM, and then gasoline motors get more powerful as the RPMs increase.
Yeah.
So you're probably going to find a crossover point where they're both kind of like not at maximum. So it'll probably be a combined system of like 360 horsepower or something like that, which is significantly more than the 205 that it had stock.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so cool.
Are you pretty
What has-
confident? Oh, go ahead.
Have you made so the latest progress is just getting this motor spec'd up?
Progress is a tenuous word.
No. Well, you just moved. You're dealing with.
Yeah.
We're all dealing with stuff. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
shaming you
So-
for not finishing it right now.
The biggest problem was that the 912 got a full suspension rebuild, so budgets and time went toward rebuilding the 912E suspension, and it's at the shop right now getting aligned and corner balanced and then back to me. So hopefully I'll have that Monday or Tuesday of next week. So I
Awesome.
can go pick
Awesome.
that
Oh,
up.
that's exciting. Was it all original before?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
So this was
all
very
the-
exciting.
Yeah, all the bushings were worn out. All of the I replaced the torsion bars. I put a new sway bar on the back. I put a bigger sway bar on the front. I replaced the rear trailing arm. I replaced all of the bushings all around the entire car, trailing arm bushings, control arm bushings, the spring plate bushings, all of that. Which was, it took me, because it was the first time I'd ever done it, it took me like 2 months to finish. Because I would work until I got caught up in a problem, and then I'd be like, what's the solution to this? And then the internet would be like, oh, you need to buy this tool.
Yeah.
So then I would go buy the tool, and it would wait a week for it to arrive, and then I would finish that side of the project, and then I'd go do something else and get stuck and go, what's the solution here? Oh, I got to buy this tool. So
You have a lot more patience than I do. I would give up after the, like, you need this tool.
you would have
break
given up after
something.
your fingers got dirty the first time.
Yeah. So, and part of this process was removing some weights that were installed that
Yes.
then turned out to be
we
one of
heard
the
about
most
this at the meeting.
this turned out to be one of the most controversial moves that you had made per online commentary.
Apparently, yeah. So the 912E, because basically in 76 the 914 ended and the 924 wasn't ready to be delivered yet. So American dealerships were like, hey, what do? We don't have an entry-level car to sell to these Americans that want an entry-level car. So they were like, we've still got some Type 4s from the 914 project. Shove those in a 911, ship them to the US. Those idiots will buy them.
And they did.
And they did. They sold 2,100 of them in like a 6-month span, which is pretty good for Porsche at the time.
Yeah.
So the Type 4 motor, being a Volkswagen, it's an opposed 4 instead of an opposed 6, and it's intrinsically not balanced, so it rattles and shakes, which Porsche was like, oh well, our customers will never go for this, so they had to put this weight on the transmission cross member to help reduce that vibration to the chassis, so you don't feel the vibration of the Type 4 while you're driving. Mine you do anyway, because I've already hotted it up. It's got bigger pistons and cylinders. It's got a bigger cam, all kinds of little hot roddy tricks that made like 12 horsepower,
and helps it to shoot flames.
So is 12 the total now?
Yes. Yeah, it went from 0.5 to 12 and a half. So no, allegedly it'll probably be around 100, which is
that's pretty
fine.
good.
Yeah,
that's good. Yeah, I mean it's
fine.
a light car and it's
Yeah,
gonna handle well now.
911S in 76 would have been like 125, something like that. So it's fine.
Yeah.
And my car weighs a bit less than a 911S did at the time.
Yeah.
So But yeah, so they put this weight. It's 12 pounds of steel that bolts onto the transmission crossmember in a 912E. And the problem there is, if you've ever been under an early 911, I actually don't know how the later ones do it, but the through 78, I guess, the rear sway bar goes directly under the transmission crossmember. It doesn't connect to it or anything, but it tucks up inside the transmission crossmember to make sure that there's clearance to the ground. And so with the weight there, you can't fit a standard 911 rear sway bar. There are 912E specific rear sway bars that bend out and go around the transmission crossmember, but those are unobtainium. They just plain don't exist.
That also seems less
functional?
ideal. Yeah.
Yeah.
When there's a bend.
Yeah. So I wasn't even about to look for one of those, so I found a regular 911 16 millimeter, I think it's 16 or 18, I don't know, rear sway bar on eBay for like $110. Bought all the bushings, bought the drop links and all that, the whole thing, and installed that. And of course, with that weight being there, it wouldn't fit. So I removed the weight and replaced the studs with bolts so that it would bolt up into, because the transmission crossmember bolts went through the weight to hold the transmission to the crossmember.
Oh, I see.
Oh.
So instead of studs, I just put bolts so that the transmission crossmember is bolted directly to the transmission. Doesn't really matter. Anyway, remove the weight, put in the sway bar, did a post about it for Jalopnik, and everyone said, "You're gonna die immediately. This 12 pounds of weight is gonna throw off your balance in this car." And I was like, so if you lost 12 pounds as the driver, you would die? Or Porsche said, no, only 154-pound people can drive this car.
No more. Don't have lunch.
Otherwise, you die.
Yeah.
Also, my car has the endurance fuel tank, so it's got a 23-gallon fuel tank up front.
Wow.
And that's like 200 and something pounds of gasoline. So
that's crazy.
So from a full tank to an empty tank is like 200 pounds difference.
So you have no light steering issues on acceleration.
No.
Isn't your range like 500 or 600 miles with that tank?
Over 600 miles.
That's crazy.
Actually, so the funny story is, in Texas, when I was on my big road trip in 2017, I left my wallet at a Whataburger in what's the border town with Arizona?
El Paso?
Yes, El Paso.
That's New Mexico. That's why I was thrown off.
Oh, okay.
Close enough. In that westerly direction.
Whatever geography is.
Yeah.
But I was coming across, and I left my wallet there, and I kept driving, and I made it. I don't even know where, but I went like through maybe 100 miles into Texas, and there was a border patrol stop, and they were like, "Do you have your ID?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's in my glove box. Let me go get it." And I reach in there. I'm like, "Oh God, I don't have my wallet." And they were like, "Are you an American citizen?" And I was like, "Yes." And they're like, "Okay, have a nice day."
Wow.
Amazing.
But realizing that I didn't have my wallet, I had to turn around and go 100 miles back in the other direction, and my low fuel light came on.
Oh.
So
and
I was
you
going
don't have
like
payment.
Right.
Without that wallet.
I was going like 60 in the slow lane, and I was getting blitzed by semi trucks going 85. So that was fun.
Wow.
Yeah.
I made it. I literally rolled into the Whataburger, which had a Shell station next door, on E. So I had to push my car from the Whataburger to the Shell station.
Oh man.
Whoa. Wow.
Yeah.
That is
that was a lucky day.
Living close to the edge.
Yeah.
And then I ended up then I had to go from El Paso to Midland that night, and I think I got there at like 3:00 in the morning to check into my campsite.
Oh my
Go
God.
to sleep. So that was a long, long day. I think it was 1,300 miles that day.
Oh my
Wow.
god. I
Wow.
do not have the patience for that, like that much tandem travel, or continuous travel, I should say, or like tandem
Well,
even. Like if I got stopped with an
yeah,
inconvenience, I would just
yeah.
abandon the car and hail like a helicopter. See you guys
Uh,
later.
well, in case that wasn't enough, I'm going on a 5,000-mile motorcycle trip in like 2 weeks.
Oh, that's
Whoa.
So
amazing.
yeah.
That's amazing. What is your route?
I think I'm gonna go north through states that I've never been before: North Dakota, um, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and then cut through the UP of Michigan and then come back down because my family lives in southern Michigan.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna go visit family. My grandfather has cancer and he had a big scare earlier this year, so I'm gonna go visit him. And apparently, I've been hearing all my life these stories of how he used to drag race in Florida with Ed Iskandarian, and he had a '55 Chevy that he ran like 12s in and was
Oh my
amazing.
god.
And
Wow.
he was a moonshiner,
Oh wow.
so he built this hopped up '55 Chevy to run shine in Florida,
So
and he was making all kinds of money and all this. And then my grandmother told him that he had to stop, or maybe it was his mother. I don't really
yeah.
know. So I'm going to interview him and hear his whole life story. Because I don't actually know. He's originally from Denmark. He fled during World War II when he was like 8,
Yeah.
and he came over here with his brother, but his parents had to stay. So his brother was like 14, and they both came to the U.S. and like had nowhere to live and nowhere to stay.
Oh wow.
So
Wow.
So
so
if,
I need to hear this story
yeah,
straight from his mouth. I'm sure half of it'll be lies, but
if your
um,
grandmother hadn't stopped him, he could have been one of the pioneers of NASCAR.
that's right. NASCAR was a little before the mid '50s, but yeah.
Fine.
Legends of NASCAR.
Yeah.
But yes, yeah. So I'm kind of going to hear those stories, and I haven't seen family in a long time, so I'm gonna stay outside the whole time. I'm gonna camp, and I'm gonna keep my distance. He's old and he's sick, and I don't want to get
Yeah.
him worse with my travels, but I'm gonna try and keep my distance from people
Yeah.
and just go
Solo
at
trip?
my own solo trip.
Okay.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That'll be exciting.
I was gonna
Yeah.
ask if it wasn't a solo trip, if your wife would be riding in what I would now refer to as the Twizzy seat. So
No, she doesn't ride motorcycles and probably never will. So
So, switching to bikes, I enjoy your motorcycle content that
Thank
you
you.
do because you're. I know you've ridden for a long time. Like it's not that I think of you as like me. Like I'm a lapsed rider. I rode 20 years ago and I'm not good at it. You're much better. You're a good rider, but like. But like you came into this, like you're like when you started reviewing, you're like, I've never reviewed motorcycles. I'm not like trained for this, but I'm like a regular guy that rides and pushes these. Like I do the long rides and I love it, but I'm not like going for lap times. And you seem to like the qualities in bikes that I think I like or would like.
Okay.
So I appreciate you reading your reviews because like reading like a hot shoe in like Cycle World or something who's like really fast or whatever, like you take them on trips and you enjoy them on a Sunday afternoon and that seems cool. You ride up to Tahoe and stuff and like that's like the use case that I would envision myself using a motorcycle, like living somewhere out where I had land and it was empty. Like I wouldn't want to ride in a city like where we live and everything's a pickup truck. So
how far are you
that.
from the hill country?
Like
the
4 hours.
The quote unquote good driving roads.
Yeah, about 4 hours. Yeah,
that's far. That's far.
Yeah.
It's far. Even like we go there every spring now, and I've joined Kevin. Kevin's been doing that for a while now.
Yeah.
And it's a long trip, even in just an air cooled 911, let alone a motorcycle. Although you're going 5,000 miles, so not one to complain.
Yeah.
Well, so for this, it's Ducati is loaning me a Diavel, which is kind of their cruiser bike, but it doesn't have like a fairing or anything like that.
Oh my god!
And
Saddlebags.
so I said, can you fit it with optional equipment for this trip. So they're fitting it with heated grips because it's going to be like 45 in the.
Oh,
that's
that's always a thing
luxurious.
you mentioned in the review.
Oh, dude, heated grips are amazing. They're so nice.
Ah,
Heated grips, a fairing, a comfort seat, and full hard saddlebags. So it'll be a decent tourer
yeah.
That's cool.
to take on this trip, and
That
it's
is
going to be a lot of
luxurious.
highway miles.
Yeah.
So.
How long are you expecting it to take? Or how long are you planning for?
I'm gonna try and do it pretty quick. I think
Okay.
I'm gonna try to do it from like 5 days there,
Okay.
and then maybe like 3 or 4 days back because I'm taking a longer route there than I am back.
Okay.
So
Do you have to give the bike back right away, or is it like
yeah,
keep it...
it's basically it's a 3-week loan.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I'm gonna try to do under a week to get there, stay for around a week, and then under a week to get back. And then their headquarters, their West Coast headquarters in the U.S. is in Silicon Valley, which is like a 4-ish hour drive from me. So then I'll have to take it back. I'll get back on a Sunday and then have to get it back to them on a Monday.
And you'll just have like a car there that you've driven out there.
I'll tow the bike from home to.
Oh, okay.
to
Okay.
their
Yeah, that makes
headquarters.
sense. Yeah. That's really cool. Both of you have ridden. I have a motorcycle, of course, that is fully restored, but has not been started in, I think, 3 years now, and it was filled with
Decorative.
gasoline
Decorative,
when
yeah.
parked. So it's a sculpture in my living room.
Does it still have gasoline in it?
I believe it has a little bit of gasoline, what has not evaporated and entered
Now
my.
it's gel. Now
yeah,
it's gas gel.
Yeah.
10 years, it's probably fine. 10 years is when it's going to get nasty.
Every once in a while, I think I should take this somewhere and just have them
You can
clear
put,
it out.
There's like an additive called like Stabil or something that you can
Yeah.
put in. That, I mean, it's probably, maybe it's too late.
I always
but-
think about it a little too late. Like I should probably do something about it before like it's too late.
Also,
But all you have to do is it's not a
fuel
big.
tank. The fuel tank is like 2 bolts.
Yeah.
You just unbolt it, take it off, and then empty it
Yeah.
out. Like it'd be very easy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not like it's in the carb
Yeah.
necessarily if it hasn't been
Eh.
started.
Some
It
of
is?
it is.
I've heard that you. Yeah, I was about to say like you might have to rebuild the carbs if you know at the end. And
Not after. I wouldn't imagine after 3 years, but yeah, if you let it sit 10 years, then yeah,
yeah.
you'll need to rebuild the carbs.
Yeah.
But I have always wanted to take a road trip. My road trip, I mean, traveling to where Kevin lives, up north, half an
Is that
hour.
like 30 miles? Yeah.
Not even.
It's
I
like
think it's like 12. I think it's more like 5. But
Is
I
it?
would.
Yeah.
I want a sidecar. I always wanted like a vintage BMW with
I
a
wouldn't
sidecar
recommend it.
They're not good.
for
I
the
was a
dog.
passenger.
Can you imagine? Like
Sidecars scare the shit out of me.
They're bad.
I want
Like
that.
really, really good riders are dangerous on sidecars.
I want that iconic image of me with my Pomeranian in the
Oh
sidecar.
my god. 118 scale. Oh.
teacup.
Yeah.
Can we talk about Radwood for a moment?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so we had Perkins on, last week. We were talking to him, and we were talking about, we were all talking like after we recorded, we're like, what, like if COVID was over tomorrow, and you probably saw this in the notes, if COVID was over tomorrow, like, what would you do? What would you go and do? And I was like, man, I would want to go to a Radwood so bad. Like that's
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like I would,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would fly to the next one if it was happening. And
COVID happened and interrupted like just about every car trip plan
Yeah.
for the year.
Yeah.
But Radwood is the one car thing where I miss like being around people. Like I
Yeah.
miss the crowd. I miss all of that
Dude.
more than any other car event. Any other car event is like, oh yeah, Lyft is fun except for the mobs of people. Like
Yeah.
this is fun except for this. Or you go to your
Yeah.
small meetups and the
No, it's
crowd
true,
is
yeah.
like fun that But Radwood, it's like
It's not as fun as Hill Country Rally, of course. You have to skip Radwood to go to that.
we had already
But-
made plans.
we thought about driving 4 hours to Radwood and then driving 4 hours back to rejoin the rally.
I'm just giving you shit.
But yeah, no, that's true. I mean, especially because at Radwood, you're surrounded by extremely like-minded car individuals.
Totally. Yeah.
So
I mean, yeah, it's I hate to be, like prop myself up like that or whatever, but it's literally the most fun car event I've ever been to.
Yeah.
I hate to
It's-
be self-promotional or whatever, but
No,
like
but
I have so much fun at Radwood. The people are amazing, the cars are great, and it's one of the saddest things about this year is that we only got to do one. We
Yeah.
had 13 of them planned. We had
Wow.
we were supposed to do one every month, and some months two.
Oh,
and-
I thought you had one for every month and also Smarch.
Yes. And like we like last year I did 37,000 miles going back and forth across the country to different Radwoods, and I was planning on doing more this year.
Wow.
And I'm missing it so much, like just the ability to be with, like you said, with like-minded individuals.
Yeah.
It was so great.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, we want to be responsible. We don't want to be responsible for somebody getting sick or dying. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not worth that
Yeah.
for sure. But I do miss it.
Yeah.
And yeah, if this didn't exist or if it just magically disappeared tomorrow, like the president says it's going to, then yeah, we would definitely have Radwood for sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
That would be the first thing I would do. I would say, forget it. Tomorrow we're doing it. Show
Yeah.
up or don't.
Yeah. Yeah. I would be there. I would fly
I
there.
know. I won't lie. Like, part of the reason why I bought the Celsior, like, there was part of me that was thinking part of this is because I want to show up to Radwood in this. So, and I know
Yeah.
you've gotten a lot of people who have purchased cars
Absolutely.
with that show in mind.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We've had people that have restored cars with that in mind. We've
Yeah.
had people that they've had projects on the back burner for 6 years and they go, "Oh, I got to have it done for Radwood."
Yeah.
Like you degenerate car people are getting your ass in gear to go to this show, and like
Yeah.
that makes me feel so proud.
No.
Yeah.
You just
But
hit
it's this year. I'm so bummed.
for
Yeah.
lack of a better or less pretentious word, like you really did hit on the zeitgeist of like what like the
Yeah.
car community is feeling. I mean, you get everything from a
That's-
Daihatsu Charade to like a Vector.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah, literally at our LA show one year,
Yep.
we had a Vector and 2 Daihatsu Charades.
Yeah.
it's
Well,
amazing.
Radwood is like an adjective for
Yeah.
this type
Yeah,
of car.
it-
like it's pretty universally accepted.
Did you know that
at
you're
least, online?
Did you know that you are a Craigslist descriptor now?
Yeah.
Like
I
you
mean,
can actually
as-
search Radwood.
As soon as I started seeing it at BAT, that was when I was like, "Oh yeah, we've definitely done something here."
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's all over. It's Car and Driver, Road and Track, Jalopnik. Like everything is. This car would be perfect for Radwood,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Which makes me feel great, and also, I'm super bummed that we can't deliver this year.
Yeah.
We had a lot of people that were disappointed, and it sucks watching other car shows be irresponsible. Because then the people that want to go to our show are like, "Well, when are you going to do this?"
Yeah.
It's like we just
And-
I don't want you to die.
Kevin and I have
Yeah, I don't want you to
exactly.
die.
Kevin and I have talked about this too, and our comfort levels with going to car shows, and to everyone's discretion, how they feel comfortable, attending informal or formal events, whatever. But we felt a little bit less comfortable, even just going to casual cars and coffees.
Yeah.
As of late, I mean,
It just stresses me out. Like we'll visit, we'll see like one friend or something, but it's kind of like there's meets that like local meets that happen that I'm just like I have no interest in going. It just seems like all stress and
Absolutely.
it just doesn't seem like the timing is right. Like
Yeah.
I'm not going to look at cars. I'm going to talk to people, and I really don't want to be like shouting over, looking, outside, shouting at people, talking, and it's not good.
Yeah, totally. And like, trying to enforce mask wearing and trying to enforce distancing, and like it's not feasible.
yeah,
Right.
And I don't want to be on the hook
Right.
as not
It's-
only a legal liability,
yeah. This is
Yeah.
a
but
bad
also
headline.
just like
Oh, personal.
Seriously.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, it makes
I
complete
thought
sense.
Radwood Sturgis was a surefire good idea, but you said no.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that's the downside of being a motorcycle guy, is seeing all the motorcycle guys being like, "Ooh, everything's great.
Yep.
If I die, I die."
Oh man.
Anyway,
Yeah.
but we have been working on something. It's not a show, so don't get your hopes up. But we are working on an auction platform
Ooh.
for Radwood. So if you're interested in selling a Radwood era car and or collectible,
Okay.
Okay.
apparel,
That is a twist.
audio items,
Yeah.
anything
Okay.
from the Radwood era. It's the same as our shows. You bring your accessories, you bring your cars. It's all in one place.
That's cool.
It's a totally cool vibe. So, yeah, we're hoping to launch that soon. I can't give away any specifics because we don't really have them, but
Yeah.
we had a meeting today and that was what we decided. So,
That's awesome.
That is very cool. Yeah.
if you aren't already subscribed to our email list, I promise I don't send emails all that often. So get subscribed to it. We'll send you information when we have it.
Excellent.
Definitely.
Well, I'm
And
sure. And I'm sure.
Radwood.com.
Radwood.org.
.org.
Unfortunately, someone
Who's
took
.com?
Radwood. I have no idea. We've been trying to buy it for 3 years.
Oh my god.
Wow. My business is called Macaulay Creative, and I couldn't get the domain, and I thought that someone squatted on it like as soon as I registered it with the state, like 7 years ago, and but I was actually like I looked into the Who Is this week because I had looked into it before, but it's been years, and I was listening to a Reply All. They were talking about like domain purchasing.
Oh yeah, that was a good one.
And so I was like, well, what if I was like, what if I could just make an offer? And like, I don't know, the company that holds it now, there's more information, and I guess they've had it registered for like 12 years, and they want $3 grand for it.
Oh man.
Yeah.
We have there's a story. So the company that I work for, on the branding side of what I do, years ago, just right before I started there was an architecture firm whose initials were PSP, and we had registered PSP.com for them. And then shortly after the website launched, they were contacted by Sony and offered 7 figures for the domain name.
Oh my god.
And they got it. So
oh my god.
Now they're PSP-1.com, and that's just fine. They all retired anyways.
Wow. That's crazy. That's wild. That's like the Nissan.com thing.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh,
whenever Sony would like to launch a Sony Radwood, just holler.
Yeah. Yeah.
If
those are the initials of your next device, RADWOOD.
Yeah. Radwood is pivoting to PS5.
Yeah.
That's going to be the name of our show.
You know what though? What you say is very intriguing though. I dug up an old Discman from the early 90s that I had traded a friend my boombox for in like, I don't know, 95 or something. I looked up prices on eBay. I was encouraged, and then I ended up selling it for like $300+.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
yeah, I mean, audio equipment is a big one.
Yeah.
Clothing is a big one, especially like starter jackets and whatever, all that kind of stuff.
Rare members only.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Any kind of like wheels, aftermarket steering wheels, aftermarket car stereos, like that kind of stuff that's very period correct. People want that, especially if it's in really good condition. So we want to have an all-encompassing auction space where you can find that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, hopefully soon we'll have some more information on that. So
that's cool. It's exciting. Like Chris said, it's a good twist. I support this. Like there are multiple auction sites appearing because there is an audience and it's a good business plan. But this is like a it's a cool
And-
twist. The fact that it's accessories and stuff.
Yeah.
And like I know I would love browsing this.
Yeah, and just like our shows, we don't want it to be exclusive to, people say Bring a Trailer isn't about bringing a trailer to buy a project car anymore. It's about bringing a trailer because you would never drive the car anymore.
Yeah.
You bring
It's
a trailer.
all super
You bring a
low
trailer
miles.
to carry the bills of money.
all
Yeah.
the money that it takes
Yeah.
to buy. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be just exclusive high end super. If you have a really nice Reliant
Yeah.
or what, we want to showcase that item. So
Yeah.
like, it's the same as our shows. If it's 80s 90s and you would be interested in seeing it, we want to have that
Or
on the
like
site.
a hat from the Reliant Enthusiasts Club.
Exactly.
It fits in.
Yes.
Well, you should do if you do like stories and posts in it, like how Bring a Trailer does posts that are not auctions.
Yep.
You should use. I think it's a friend of DWA and Radwood is the BRZO app. If you use that, find shed light on cars
Absolutely.
with like 10,000
Oh.
miles. Like any car with nationwide
And-
has like 8,000 miles. Like throw
The-
that up there.
That's the thing
Yeah.
too, is that like, and I don't, people may or may not realize that BRZO, and this is kind of a unsponsored promotion of this, but you can search for parts, like car parts. You can search for
That's
anything actually on
relatively-
Craigslist.
That's
Craigslist.
relatively new.
Chris
Yeah.
They
searches
didn't
for
start that
furniture,
way.
I actually
Oh,
search
of
for
course.
furniture on there.
and I do too now.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I actually, and then related to previous podcasts, I started searching for rare diecast models too.
What?
Mm.
Delete that, please. I have a
Oh.
reputation to uphold.
I actually made a category for auto art, but I didn't really see anything.
Yeah. No, they're actually
Good.
really terrible. They're all new G wagons and
Yeah.
supercars, which
Yes.
I am less than interested in
Oh,
collecting.
So, Brad, I've got on here the Nissan Z Proto, which you immediately seemed not as enthused because, like, no EV option, no hybrid. I know you're interested
Yeah.
in being a plug-in hybrid of some sort.
Yeah.
In addition, and but what do you think
So
aside from
does-
that?
Design wise, I think it's fine.
Yeah.
It's quite clear that it's probably on a 20-year-old platform. Not quite. When was the 350Z launched?
12
I guess
years
it was-
ago?
okay.
Oh, Z,
Yeah,
350.
350Z was 2002.
Yeah, so
Okay,
you're
so
not
yeah.
far off.
18-year-old
Yeah.
platform.
Yeah, see, you were way off. We strive for accuracy on this show.
Yeah.
So it's but it's probably fun. I'll give
Yeah.
it that. Like
Yeah.
I would probably have a lot of fun driving it. The problem that I have is I've driven the Q50 Red Sport 400,
Mhm.
which is this probably the same motor. We're guessing.
Yeah.
And it's effortless speed. It's quiet, it's refined, and it's put your foot down and you're at over 100.
Yeah.
Like
a modern
that.
fast
Yeah.
car experience.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's every
which-
current car.
Yeah.
this
Exactly.
class.
Exactly. And I get that. People say the BRZ is slow or whatever, and it's 250 horsepower. So if the Z had 250 horsepower, people would be up in arms.
Yeah.
Right.
And I understand why it's got 400 horsepower, or why it's probably got 400 horsepower, but that's not what I'm looking for
Yeah.
in a driving experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to have a driving engagement feeling at safe legal speeds.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And that's not what it's going to provide.
We
So-
experienced that very recently as a side story with a Lancia, and it had like you just had to ring it out, and it was so much fun. And I don't even think we broke the speed limit. It was a full Via. Sorry, I didn't clarify, but and
Full Vios are great. Full Vios
Yeah,
are so much
it's-
fun.
we
It's
were going,
cool.
we were flooring it, and we were hitting like 30, and it just sounded
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
You don't need anything more than that, and you're just like
Yeah.
engaged and,
and
rolling through the gears.
Like
and
that's the
it's
thing
great.
that I've always misunderstood or I don't get about automotive media is like everyone in automotive media will review a new car and go, oh, I wish it was faster.
Yeah.
I wish it was more comfortable. I wish it was bigger. I wish it was whatever. But then you put them in something like a 356 or a Fulvia or whatever, and they go, oh my God, this is so much better than anything that's sold today. Why aren't cars like this?
Yeah.
You're the problem.
Yeah.
You're the reason they're like this.
Yeah. No, although like it's great that they're offering the new Xeon manual.
Yeah.
And it is, like we're kind of saying at the start of the conversation, there aren't any futuristic or really current day technology options for the powertrain. So it's kind of a car built a little bit for yesterday as opposed to tomorrow.
That's the problem that I have with it is that motor's been around since 2015.
Yeah.
They could have put that motor in the 370Z
Yeah.
and made waves 5 years ago and didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just,
I mean, I was formerly a Z guy, and I had, a 350, and like the 370, it launched with 330 horsepower. It went up to 350 with the Nismo, and I was like, man, I was thinking any day, in 2010, I was like, they're gonna like add direct injection, and this is gonna be like 400 NA horsepower. You know what I mean? That's what you would think, and they just never put any money into that platform ever again.
Super curious about like the decision behind kind of towing the line with that particular product, because it's not as if like people were just clamoring constantly and they had to keep producing the same exact car to meet demand. I can't imagine that being the case. So,
I don't get the current market. I really don't. Like I know the line that everyone says is, oh, it's so expensive to develop a new car. They aren't going to sell a lot of them. Why would they spend money on it? Blah, blah, blah. But look at 20 to 25 years ago. How many sports coupes were available on the market, and they invested money in them, and they just don't exist anymore. There's 4.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that was like a flagship vehicle, and that brought people into showrooms, or that was like, if you don't have kids and you want a Nissan, you're going to get like a 240SX. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was just but now I think people are only heading to the showroom to look at crossovers. They're only wanting an SUV.
NX. I saw an NX 200 the other day, the little egg.
Yeah.
And I was like, and it was an SER.
For 1 second, because I thought you were talking about the Lexus, but
oh no, the new X.
I was trying to think of what it was. I don't know.
The little with the oval lights in the front.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The little Nissan NX was like egg shaped. It was kind of like an MX-3 competitor.
Yeah.
That's the thing is
it looks like the Mazda Lantis.
Oh my God.
There were competitors to the NX. Like, and now none of that exists.
Can you imagine a world in which like the MX-3 exists today, where you get this teeny tiny like 6-cylinder?
Yeah.
Like that's insane.
Yeah. Or even the MX-6. Nothing like that exists now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, because they boiled it down. I mean, it seems the short of it is that the companies have boiled it down to, people like that doesn't actually sell the cars. In fact, if we get rid of that and just replace it with something,
hatchback, sedan,
CHR,
and so that's where they're going with CUVs now. Essentially, is people want CUVs, and sometimes people want a fast car, so we'll just make a fast CUV, and that's the trajectory now that
rage.
We've bounced off onto.
Makes me so mad.
Not really on the topic of a fast CUV, but if we're talking a nimble CUV, that's the Lexus NX. That's what it stands for. Nimble crossover.
This was a carryover conversation indeed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, my brain is broken, so I forget all the stuff we talk about. So I forget all of those things. I remember that RC is radical coupe and not anything else.
All right. And we won't bring up what the RX was. So
no, it was. I don't know. Yeah,
not luxury crossover.
No. I would just say that's what you said. You said that about the RC, and that's why I clarified.
Oh,
that
I thought
the
I said
RC
that
was
about the
radical.
RX.
Yeah, we don't need to revisit the.
Anyways, I'm not going to say that it was luxury, so I can say that.
Yes.
I was just looking through the show notes. And you asked me about my first EV, but you didn't ask me about my second EV.
Okay.
Okay.
So
What is your second EV?
I'm actually going to look at and probably buy an electric motorcycle.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So when I get back from my long road trip, I'll drop off the Ducati, and on the way back, I will potentially be picking up a Honda Grom
Ooh.
with an EV swap.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Was this something you bid on this or?
Yes. So that I
Holy
forgot to tell you
shit.
about this.
Oh my god.
I bid on it.
We got so many exclusives here.
I got sniped at the last second,
Whoa.
and the dude never paid.
Whoa.
So that day, they sent me a message through eBay, and they were like, "Hey, do you still want this?" And I didn't see the message for 4 months.
What?
What? 4 months?
Yeah. So I sent him a message back, and I was like, "Hey, is this still available?" And he's like, "Yeah, I never got around to relisting it,
Whoa.
so I still have it. If you're interested,
Oh,
you
that's
can come by and
amazing.
check it out." And yeah, it's an EV motorcycle startup in the Bay Area that built this as a prototype, and it's a Honda Grom with an Alta Redshift 50 horsepower motor.
Whoa, that's a lot of power.
That's a lot of power.
Yeah.
Grom has 10.
Wow.
That's crazy. So, and I can only imagine because I know nothing about electric motorcycles, but same thing, instant torque. Like you're just
Yeah.
bam.
It's geared, so the Grom, I have a loaner Grom from Honda right now that I'm testing. Reviews coming out next week, and for jalopnik.com, and that bike is
Could you spell that?
that bike tops out at like 51 miles an hour. Probably a little more if I was at sea level, and a little more if I wasn't my size. But the Redshift, the electric powered one, is geared for 110.
And that's brought to you by Infinity Q60 Redshift.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. Red Sport.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
All
right.
I'm just an asshole.
Well, we all know that.
Yeah, we've established that.
But yeah, so that'll be
That's exciting. That's really cool.
potentially in the next month or so. I'll have a couple of those little electric things floating around.
That's pretty cool.
And then luckily there's a grocery store like a block away that has a charger. But in the spring we're going to install solar and an EV charger here at the house.
Nice.
That's cool.
Very nice.
I would like to have solar on my roof or something.
Yeah.
That would
Yeah.
be cool. I'm gonna find out from you.
Well, so the great thing is probably I actually don't know what the Texas legislation is, but a lot of states
Subsidy?
there's a ton of subsidy for
Yeah.
that, especially in the face of like our power grid kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the less that you're taxing it, the less, like,
Yeah.
especially in California, there's all these like
There-
brownouts, and there are like voluntary reductions in power usage.
Yeah.
Like my NV Energy, Nevada Energy, they'll text me and say, "Hey, today we're like really taxing the grid, so if you could like reduce your air conditioning, that'd be great." So that then I won't have to worry about that. I'll be
Yeah.
100% off the grid, or as close to it as I can be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With a rack of batteries and some solar on the car, on the roof of the house and the roof of the garage, and yeah,
That'll be
so-
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll be cool.
I'm hoping to get my transit driving back and forth to the office at the very least to be zero emissions. So
Yeah, so tell us
Yeah.
about that. You've
Completely
got the
solar.
Radwood office, which is like a pretty cool looking space you've got there.
Yeah, it's a little garage that the weird thing is the city rezoned it, so unless you're grandfathered in, you can't actually do any work out of that garage. So it's not really useful for anything. So it was very cheap.
Oh,
Okay.
Oh, interesting.
So we have an overhead door that goes into kind of a small-ish warehouse. You could probably park 4 to 5 cars in there. Is about the
Okay.
size of it.
So half of your former fleet.
Yes.
Ha.
And then there's a mezzanine office that's fully finished. So it's got wood floors and painted walls and all that. So I work out of there. It's 1.5 to 2 miles away. I can ride a scooter or ride a motorcycle or whatever over there. And it's right by the highway. So if I want to go for a motorcycle ride, I can hop on the highway, go down to all the good riding roads, and then come back and that's one of the reasons that we moved from our old house to our new house, is because the new house is so much closer to my office
Yeah.
and closer to my wife's office. Of course, she doesn't go to the office anymore because everybody's working from home, but hopefully eventually we will be back to normal,
Yeah.
or as normal as anything can be in 2024.
Yeah.
Um,
Basically. No, that's very cool though. So in theory, you could be charging your car through solar panels,
yes,
and you'll just be self-sustaining essentially.
correct.
just nearly.
Yes, I will be 100. Well, we'll still have the Buick, so the Buick will still take gasoline. So
Yeah.
when we go
You'll
out
have
of
the
town,
912.
and I'll have the 912.
Yeah.
I
It
am
uses a
thinking
lot of
about
gasoline.
I am thinking about hybridizing the
Oh.
912 as well.
Let's see how
But-
the Boxster goes first.
Yeah. That's in the future. That's in the future.
Yeah.
But I want to do what they call a battery, a belted alternator starter, a battery assist belted alternator starter, which was a thing more in the early 2000s when manufacturers were doing like mild hybrids.
Uh-huh.
So the system that I'm thinking about using or copying would be like a Saturn View Green Line,
Okay.
which is
Is that the
you know
that was the hybrid?
View. Yeah, a hybrid
Oh.
View. Yeah. But it had basically a big alternator
Yeah.
that acted as the starter with a big cogged belt
Yeah.
that goes to the crankshaft. So when you're on the highway, the alternator will turn with the motor to help.
Oh. So it's like
provide-
that's a parallel hybrid, right? Like the Honda's Honda's system is parallel instead of Toyota's is series hybrid, where you
It
can
would-
do EV and then ICE or combination, versus all the time it's doing exactly the
Right.
same thing.
So you're reverse there. Parallel is they're two separate systems that work independently.
Yeah.
That would be more like Volvo's T8.
Yeah.
That's a
Oh.
through the road parallel hybrid. There's a electric that you can run independently on an electric. This would be you can never drive just on EV because
Yeah.
it doesn't have enough power. It's got like 12 horsepower.
Yeah.
But adding 12 horsepower to a 100 horsepower car is
I can't
okay.
even mock the 912E for having no power, because it's like a respectable amount of power now. Like, you know,
Yeah.
it's pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, 100's not great, and it still
No,
does
but-
0 to 60 in like 10 seconds. But
Yeah, but I mean, a lot of the 911s in the 60s had 100 horsepower.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, early 911E. No, T. What was the lesser
The
one?
2.7?
2.0.
No,
The early 2.0, like a
Yeah, yeah.
69.
yeah,
I think it was a T. Was the
Yeah.
cheap, like decontented, like different cams and all that. I think
Yeah.
that had like 110.
yeah.
So, yeah, but mine weighs a bit more than that. It's probably 2,400 pounds as it sits. But a 911 from 76 would have been like 2,700 pounds.
yeah.
Wow.
No, that works
Those
out.
impact bumpers are something.
They're solid. They're not even hollow. It's lead.
Yeah,
I need to get rid of those. I've been thinking about doing some fiberglass on there to get some weight out, but
that'd be cool.
I'll immediately die.
I was
Don't post about it.
I was I was not pro your idea of a Mulholland tribute of like chopping the roof, but I'm into it now. I think it'd be cool.
Oh, for
I
the
think
wait for the
well, so
912.
yeah.
Oh, that'd be
So
interesting.
part of the problem with the 912 is it's going to need a roof at some point.
Yeah.
Because the cowl and the roof is all one panel when
Yeah.
you buy a new panel. And so I'm like, well, I could either buy a new one for like $2,700 from Porsche and then have it installed for 10 grand or whatever it's going to cost, or I could just fabricate a new cowl and a new roof and like lower the A pillars and like spend the same amount of money
Yeah.
to have a completely different car.
Yeah.
And I've thought about, chopping the top like 2 inches and giving it a real like.
What about the glass?
A not within the law look.
So probably what I would do for glass is the windows just wouldn't roll up as far in the sides.
Okay.
It would still go into the same slot, just there would be more of the glass in the door.
What about the other ones?
The windshield
Yes.
would be speedster glass.
Isn't that really expensive?
I was about to say.
It's not cheap, but glass is never cheap. So like you just claim it on insurance and get the insurance money. Anyway, and then the rear and the rear quarters would be Lexan.
Oh, okay.
Ooh, okay. All right. Yeah, this would be cool. Yeah, so the Mulholland thing was, there's a legendary story about this guy who was like known as the king of Mulholland, and he raced on the streets in the 70s, and he had, it was a 2.7 RS that he basically made into like an IROC type of thing.
No, it was an early 70s car that he put turbo flares on.
Okay, yeah, but it went crazy.
He hacked the roof, and then he put like a 3.0 RSR motor in the car.
Yes.
So it had like a legit race engine, and it had the early turbo
tail.
What tail was that? It didn't have rubber. It was
it was like
the IROC tail.
Yeah,
IROC
same
tail,
color throughout. Yeah,
yeah,
with the 2 vents.
It was silver, and it was very like special. It was a really cool car.
Yeah.
I
thought it was an
King
RS, but you're right. It might have just been like, it was a long hood that he converted to impact. Short
maybe.
hood.
Maybe that could be.
But it's cool. There's pictures of it. It's like, it's still, you could find forum posts about it. I mean,
there's a thread on Pelican that's like 700 pages.
Yeah,
oh my God.
I've read some of it. It's cool. It's very cool.
I'm super curious
it inspired a very terrible movie with.
And I don't know. I wouldn't go wide body.
Harry Hamlin. That's who's in it.
Okay.
Harry Hamlin from he was on Mad Men.
Oh.
He was. He was like starred in this movie with who was the old guy?
I've never seen it.
Like the guy who ran the agency, or
no, the old guy in the movie. Like there was another guy in the movie that was like someone. I don't know. We're gonna put a link to it.
I was trying to imagine what a chopped 911 coupe looks like, and I'm looking at it now.
Doesn't it look good?
It's so striking.
Neat.
Yeah.
From
a distance, it
cool.
looks very normal, but up close.
And like, my whole thing is having unique stuff.
Yeah.
And like, I want it to be.
That would be unique.
Instantly recognizable as my car.
You're a tall man. Could you still fit in?
I was going to say, like,
totally.
You need to talk to the king of Mulholland and see if you can sit in it.
Yeah.
And say, okay, this will work for me.
I know that I can sit in my car, and I have 2 inches above my head.
Does yours have a sunroof?
No.
Okay.
No. My car is spec'd so weird. So it was a custom order paint. It was a custom order interior color with sport seats, radio delete, sunroof delete, and Coney shocks. So whoever spec'd this,
they could have got a 911 for those options.
Absolutely, totally. And the thing is
and the fuel tank. Did you mention the fuel tank?
Oh yeah, the long distance fuel tank. And the crazy thing about it is, it went to a dealer in Traverse City, Michigan, and it sat until 77 unsold. And then it was sold. The first buyer,
and it's what, 76?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 912Es were all 76.
They're all 76. Yeah.
Yep. And it sat until 77, and it was sold at a huge discount to McKeel Haggerty's dad.
Oh.
So the guy who owns Haggerty Insurance It was his dad's car in '77, and he brought it home. And apparently, McKeel said that he remembers his dad bringing that home, and he made fun of him because his dad was colorblind, and he didn't know that the colors clashed because it's a red interior and a yellow exterior. And so he was like, "Yeah, me and my mom just like berated him because that car was so ugly." And apparently, his dad drove it for a while, and then his sister went to college in, I want to say, UC Santa Cruz, maybe. And then she drove it across the country to California, and that was her car. And then she traded it for a Volkswagen bus in like '82 or something like that.
Style at the time.
Yeah,
that's so cool that you've got all this history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you find that out?
Their name was in the warranty booklet.
Oh, wow.
In the car. Yeah. So I have the original manual. Yeah, I texted a friend that worked at Haggerty, and they put me in touch with McKeel. And
oh, that's so cool.
Got on the phone with him, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I remember that car. That was such an ugly car."
Oh my god,
that's awesome.
Does it still have
that's a great story?
The red interior.
Then he offered to buy it from me, and I was like, "Nah." One, you wouldn't want it, and two, I don't want to sell it.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah.
And then like 2 months later, the engine blew up, and I'm like, I should have sold it. Yeah, it still has the red interior. It's the only red leather dash that I've ever seen in a.
Oh, it's a red. It's leather dash too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's so. You said it sat on a dealer lot, meaning that was the dealer. Like the dealer had ordered that.
Apparently, yeah, they ordered it. Yeah.
Wow, that is a spec. Yeah.
Yeah.
So weird. So like no one backed out. The dealer was just like, yeah, let's.
I mean, I guess that's possible. I don't know. I mean, I can't imagine there were a lot of 912Es ordered to northern Michigan. So.
Yeah. My car was originally from Michigan. Like I know from like maybe the auto check or something. And I don't know anything else. I would love to know like more about like the dealer or something. Or if I knew the dealer, I could pay $300 for a plate frame on eBay.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
From that dealer.
Yeah.
So that's the thing is I was told that it was a Nevada car, that it was a Reno car. And I was like, oh, that doesn't make sense. Why has it got rust in the front trunk? But but I guess, yeah. So I bought a Reno Porsche dealer plate frame from the 70s and put it on there, and then later found out that it was a Michigan car.
Can I just say it's nice to hear you say front trunk, because I do not use the term frunk.
I don't either.
Like, here's the thing.
It was only invented with Tesla, so.
No. But the people who say frunk are people who do not have front trunks. They are people. They like the people that are excited about the word frunk have normal trunks, and they want to share their knowledge of front trunks and frunks.
Yes, that is true.
If you have a front trunk, it's you don't say frunk. It's dumb. It's dumb. It's bad.
I agree. That's a hot take, but I agree.
Okay, I it's reasonable. Only someone who has a front trunk can judge whether it's a hot take or not. But someone who doesn't have a front trunk is like, they have no voice in this. Anyway.
This is why I test for the audio at the beginning. This is when he gets real heated.
Okay, we don't want this to be hours and hours again, but I was asked could you tell your story about Keanu Reeves at Le Mans? Because I just thought that was the coolest thing.
I can.
If you wanted to share.
No, yeah, I can, yeah. So this was a couple years ago. I went on a trip to Le Mans. I think it was 2016, whatever the year that Toyota failed on the last lap.
Okay.
I mean,
going back far enough, that's multiple times, but yes.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, I think that was 16. Was 17 the last year that Porsche won? That Porsche was in it? I think was.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they were one more year after the year that I went.
Right.
So yeah,
right.
I think it was 16. Porsche was out in 17, and then 18 and 19 Toyota won. So yeah, that makes sense.
Right.
So I went as a guest of Michelin. It was a great time. It was the second time I had been. I loved it the first time. Loved it the second time. So when I went both times, we stayed at the Novotel in Le Mans in the city center. The night before, I don't remember if it was the night before qualifying or the night before the race, but anyway, one of the nights, we stayed up late at the hotel, drinking in the hotel bar, and Keanu and his posse are over in the corner, and he was a guest of Michelin as well, so he was staying in the same hotel. His group, his entourage, was staying in the same hotel, and they were all drinking over in the corner, and we were kind of drinking at our table and having some tapas and whatnot. And all of a sudden, the bartender disappeared. Like, they went in the back to have a smoke or whatever, whatever French people do. I don't even know.
I think they eat a baguette.
Probably, yes, while having a menage a trois.
It's all very erotic, especially the
yes.
baguette.
Especially the baguette. So the bartender disappears, and Keanu goes up to the bar, and he's waiting, and he's waiting, and he's waiting, and he goes, what do I have to do to get some service around here? So he walks around the bar.
How many people are in his entourage?
3.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
it's a small thing. Maybe 2.
How many people are in the room total?
10.
Okay.
It's a small group. I mean, it's probably 1 a.m, something like that. We've all been drinking fairly heavily because Michelin's footing the bill. So of course, it's
say no more.
Exactly.
You're in France. It's Le Mans. Got Keanu
it's-
Reeves in the room.
It's gratis. There's shrimp around. I'm having a good time. So he walks around the bar and he grabs a bottle of wine and he goes, "Who wants a drink? I'm paying." And clearly he's been having some good drinks by this time because he's, slurring his words and all that. So he pours wine for all of us and we kind of sit around and chat for a little bit. Nothing major, just kind of like, oh yeah, I'm really excited for the race tomorrow, or what, all that. And the bartender doesn't show up. So he puts some money on the table. I don't even know what it was, of £50 or €50 or whatever. And then he starts doing the dishes. Like he goes around and gathers up all the dishes and starts doing the dishes.
Oh
He's
my
like,
God.
"I'm just trying to help, man." And yeah.
Did he have a normal voice or a Keanu voice?
Yeah, I mean, he sounds like he sounds. He's maybe a little less gravelly, but yeah.
So how late did you guys stay up? You had some more rounds, or
maybe I think that was the last one.
Okay. Oh, that's so cool.
But then the next day, I saw him at the track in the Michelin hospitality, and he was very hungover, like extremely hungover. I have a photograph of it somewhere. I don't know if I can dig it up or not, but
of him like slumped over a chair and you like peace signing behind his head.
He was kind of like they were like the tall like bar height tables.
Yeah.
And he had his elbow on the table and his finger in the middle of his in the middle of his eyes. Like,
I'm familiar with that move every day after we record.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. It's so cool to hear that he was just like not just like a nice guy, but like proactively a nice guy.
Yeah.
And just cool.
Yeah.
And
extremely
it sounds like
nice guy.
Your groups like actually were mingling and like by the end, it's like it was like real camaraderie and everything.
Initially, we were kind of separate. We would like say, "Oh, hey," whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, by the end of the night, we were all kind of drinking together and having a good time.
That's so cool. Yeah,
that was
like
kind of the
really
last
cool.
round. That was kind of the last round, but it was a good time.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
That is very cool.
Yeah.
I remember it. I remember it.
Well, hopefully after COVID and after a couple of Radwood, which will make a couple of Radwood events, which will hold you to, you can do a motorcycle thing with Keanu, or you got to ride one of his bikes.
Yeah,
I would love to.
I think I told you I would try to get you an in with the PR, like his bike, to the PR company, and I have not, but I can try to do that.
If you can, that'd be great. I mean, I love his bikes. I think they're a lot of money, and I would probably never buy one, but I'd love the opportunity to ride one. I think they look dope.
Yeah.
What is the name of his bike company?
Arch.
Oh.
Arch. I think they have the GT and like the SR or something like that.
It's like a huge motor on a bike, right? Like it's like a big motor.
Yeah.
It,
from what I've heard, they're great. I I know almost nothing about them. But
Didn't you reviewed that new BMW, right? Like the retro one?
I have not. No.
Oh, did you ride it or did you see it or
Nope. I've
you
seen
posted
it.
about it? Oh, I saw it because you posted about it. That's why I
Today?
saw it. No, like months ago.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it just came out months ago. Like
okay.
reviews are just coming out this week.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I
you
have
had
not
posted
ridden
about
it. I've not ridden it. Based on what I've seen, I'm not sure I would like it, but I still want an opportunity to ride it. So.
Is like we all know your take on cars and luxuries, and I appreciate like where you plant your flag, but on bikes where relative luxury is different. Like where do you fall on what should be on a bike? What is too much?
The take that I've come up with is that the worst bike is better than the best car.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can dig it.
Because no power
it's-
steering.
I mean, it's such a focused experience. It's such a like centralized you and the machine thing.
Yeah.
Developer relationship where like I did a road trip in a 1,000-pound Indian, 950 pounds or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Indian Roadmaster, which is
that's a lot of weight for a bike.
It's a ton of weight. That's a lot. Most of the bikes that I ride are around 400 to 500 pounds. It's like the way that I put it when I rode the Roadmaster was I have put so much effort into making my Boxster as responsive as this.
Wow.
As
1,000-pound bike.
as a 1,000-pound bike.
Wow.
As of a piece of me and the machine, this is what I want out of a car. And I've put so much effort into making a car that I should have just bought a bike.
Yeah.
So I still absolutely love cars. I adore cars. But yeah, like the biggest, heaviest, most obnoxious bike is better than the best car I've ever driven.
Wow. That's cool. That I mean, yeah.
That is a statement.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, I appreciate the focus and like it put things in perspective, especially because I had not ridden a bike in a very, very long time. But
Sure.
no, that's
and
really
I have
cool.
no
That's really
context
cool.
for it, and I'm still thinking about dogs inside cars. So
Oh God.
yeah.
But I will say, like, the things that I like in a bike, I like a naked bike that's upright, that's relatively lightweight. Probably the best bike I've ridden is the Harley LiveWire, which is their electric
Yeah.
motorcycle, which was the first. That was what radicalized me to the advancements of EV, was riding that bike and going, oh, this is great.
Wow.
It's too expensive, but it's great.
Yeah. That's really cool. That's cool.
But
it looks cool.
as normal bikes go, I had a long-term loaner. I had a year with the Indian FTR 1200, which is so good.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. That is such a fun bike. And it's a little heavy. It's around 550 pounds, which is a little heavy for an upright naked bike, but it's got 110 horsepower, more than my 912, and weighs a quarter as much. So, yeah, it's pretty great. That's a really good bike.
That's excellent.
What was the Honda you reviewed recently? Because that one spoke to me.
That I actually still have it. I wrote it today.
Really?
Yeah. Honda said I would only have it for 2 months, but then they never asked for it back. So it's been 3.5 months, and I still have it.
Nice.
And that is the CB650R.
Yeah, that is cool. That's for me. Like, I think that's like the sweet spot. I would,
It's a really, really good sweet spot for a bike. It doesn't have a ton of torque. It's only got like 50 pound-feet of torque, but it's got like 92 horsepower. Because it revs way out. It revs to like 9,500 or something like that. And it's a 4-cylinder. It's got
Oh, wow.
a gorgeous 4-into-1 header,
Oh yeah.
and it's a futuristic looking bike.
It's got
a
it's cool LED like
Does
in
it
the
have
front and everything.
Cladding. I
No,
have
it's a naked. It's a
No, yeah.
naked bike.
okay because I have
It's
yeah
got a little bit of plastic around the radiator to
Yeah.
like guide air into the radiator, but other than that, it's relatively
It's a cool bike.
I have like
it's got bronze wheels, which is like the
Ooh.
best part of it.
Oh,
I
that's
ca-
cool.
I have a hard time appreciating the aesthetics of modern bikes, especially race bikes or sport bikes, but vintage ones. Like the one that I have downstairs it's a CB250,
Uh-huh.
and I love the simplicity of it. I like that it's not
Yeah.
bulky. Although if there were one with cladding that I did like, it'd be those BMW racers with that futuristic arrow in the front with the single. It's like I don't even know how to describe it. It's basically like plexiglass that goes, or a fiberglass that goes like it's like a bullet almost,
Yeah.
but it's from the
Okay.
70s.
Like
I
a
don't know.
like a 70s GP
Okay.
bike.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah.
They're all
I don't
kind
have the
of shaped
words
like
for
that.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good place to end it.
I think so.
A reasoned motorcycle discussion interrupted by Chris.
I don't know about bikes.
Yeah. All right. So, Brad, where can people find you? Where do you want to direct them? We'll definitely
Nowhere.
We'll post.
I'm on-
Reno, Nevada, address
Yeah, yeah.
22. No. We'll send
I'm
people to
I'm
your-
unfindable.
One-
I'm
That's
unfindable now. No,
Yeah.
I'm on Twitter.
He's off
Yes.
the grid, except for on
at
Twitter.
If you see the hazy skies
Yeah.
and the wildfires, that's
Yeah.
Brad's take.
I'm in the middle.
Yep.
Oh yeah. I'm the radical that started the forest fires on the West Coast.
You
Yeah, with
know,
all
we
my
assumed as
hot
much.
Mustang takes.
We assumed as much. Yeah.
My hot takes
Oh my
started
God.
the wildfires. No,
Wow.
at BC Brownell on Twitter. I am no longer on Instagram or Instantgram, as Chris would say.
Yeah.
Or I
He
do
does
listen to the show.
He does listen. It's amazing.
I'm no longer on Facebook. And yes, but you can see my work on Jalopnik, on Flat Sixes, and on evpulse.com.
Yeah.
So
We'll
check
check
them out.
Indeed.
links
Thanks
to all those
for
in there.
coming on.
Yeah, thank you.
we
I'm
do
glad
appreciate it.
this went a lot better.
This was
than
much
the first
more
time we
successful than our
had you
first
on.
try. That's for sure.
actually, I came up with the name for my column. It's alternating currents.
Oh.
Yeah. We pitched you ideas.
Yes.
We'll put some of those pitch ideas in the notes.
Sure.
also.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
I forgot that I had talked to you guys about.
I
pitches, but
forgot. Yeah, I when you had that, I was like, oh, this is good. Yeah, because
Yeah.
we had some ideas that were not as good. Half of mine were sarcastic, but some were genuine. But
All
Yes,
of his were
that's true.
sarcastic.
yeah, pretty much. Well, thank you for listening.
Yeah.
Thank you
You
for
know what,
having
if-
me.
You know where to find us at new496 on instantgram.com.
right.
Email us, fax us at Gmail, new496 all spelled out at gmail.com. And
NEW.
we're also
several
on Twitter,
letters.
although just barely, but
Yep.
do follow us there for repeated content from Instagram at new496.
Well.
All right. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.